Hello everyone, it's Mark Holthe here. How's it going? I thought I would jump on tonight and just share a little bit more insight. It's been a while since I've gone without my glasses, but yeah, I was out and about and taking care of some things, preparing for Mother's Day for my wife. And there's nothing worse than wearing glasses and having a mask on and having them fog up. Am I right? Yes. Well, today, I guess this evening, it's pretty late there. It's about 10:20 out in Eastern Standard Time, 11:20 in Atlantic provinces where there's lots of chaos. Am I right? Tons of chaos in the Atlantic provinces, and not too bad. 7:20 in Pacific, and right here in the Mountain Zone, it is 8:20 p.m. So thanks for joining me. This is somewhat spontaneous, but you know, it's been interesting because I've watched in the group, in my class, the TR to PR Pathway course, I've been watching what has been happening, and we're still waiting for acknowledgements of receipt. We've created our own little Google Doc to track all of the people who filed their applications to see how soon the acknowledgements of receipt are coming in, and we're going to just monitor it and see. But the question, right? The question of all questions, how long is the TR to PR pathway cap's going to remain open for, well, for the essential workers now? We could see how fast they went for the international graduates, and I don't think any of us were surprised by that. You international graduates are extremely savvy, extremely technologically adept, and by and large, there are so many of you out there all clamoring to get those 40,000 spots. The only barriers to international graduates getting through were language tests, really, because aside from the other stuff and proving that you had a job, that was also kind of important. But overall, there were not nearly as many problems with you getting in and submitting your applications. You know, to a large extent, a lot of you had taken the day off, and you were able to jump in and get your application submitted really quickly. You know, some of the people in my course did it in like 5 minutes. And even the one individual that I took and assisted, it took us about, I'd say about 7 or 8 minutes, but we already knew everything that was going to be in there. We knew the order in which it was going to come across. We had everything set up, and all it was a matter was just dragging it over, uploading it. Now, with that being said, one of the things we are going to talk about a little bit later is those of you who are rushing and made a mistake. And how would you know how fast it was going to fill up, right? The other bottleneck that happened on May 6th, I guess it is May 6th, yes, was the portal, the fee payment portal going down. So we had this big global company assist the government in making sure that the portal worked. This one, let me just flip back right here, this one right here. So this one worked. There was no problems with this one, right? But the problem occurred with the fee payment portal. And when people were trying to all rush to pay their fees, that's when things kind of fell apart, right? The moment we started everyone started to try to pay their fees. And if I go here to the sample one that I've been working on, the fee payment, when we went here and went to click on it, well, it just stalled out. And you guys saw what was happening as things were spinning. So when we look at the temporary public policy right now, and we look at where things are at, it was quite amazing to see, you know, I honestly think it would have filled up a lot faster if it wasn't for the fee payment portion, but the cap has been reached. It is done. And when you go in and you log into your accounts right here, and you go to choose your program or stream that you're under, you can see right here at the top, there's a warning that says International Grad is not accepting any more applications because it's full. Obviously, because you can see the cap has been reached and there's been 40,000 applications. Now, one thing I can tell you is that those 40,000, there are a number of people that were rushing, which obviously it's to be that's totally to be expected. But in their efforts and in their rushing, they ultimately made mistakes. They forgot to include forms. And I know some of the questions that are already coming in here are suggesting that, well, people are just saying, what do? I made some mistakes. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but how fast are these going to fill up? This is the key. This is the key question. You can see we got 1,000 here for the healthcare, and I'm so grateful. I'll flip my screen around here. Sorry. You can see there are 1,000 here for the healthcare out of the 20,000, and right now we're about 6,700 out of the 30,000. And these numbers have not gone up very fast. Why? Well, there's a couple reasons. One of them is the language tests. And really, when you think about it, for all of these essential workers, obviously you have to be working in those NASHT codes, and that might be one of the barriers. Maybe there just are not as many people working in these essential positions as we think. I don't think that's the case. I think for most people, it's the language tests, trying to book them and write them, because that's really the only barrier. All of these people, are currently working. They don't need to worry about their education. They don't need to worry about any of those things. All they have to do is show that they've got the language and the work experience in that particular NASHT code for the essential workers, and that they are currently employed. Now, there's some other things, little nuances, but generally speaking, that's it, right? CLB, even the language test scores are really, really quite low. So we're at 6,732 right now, and we are 2 days away. So, and it's not moving up very quickly. So if this is here, let me just refresh it and I'll see if anyone submitted in this time. And this is important. So let's see. 6,733. Is that one? I think that's one that we saw. Like one person submitted. Yesterday, it was like, it would go up by, on Thursday, it would go up by hundreds. That's how fast it was going up for the international grad. So what does that mean? How long are these going to stay open? Well, like I said, the bottleneck, you guys, is the language tests. And depending on when you've booked your language test as an essential worker, there is a good shot. There's a good chance that this could still be open, well, a week at least from now, maybe even 2 weeks. Because like I said, this has not been moving very fast, and it's the language tests. Now, some of you are probably thinking to yourselves, well, what about the medical? And what about the police certificate? Well, I've talked about those before. And yes, it's important to show that you're making attempts to apply for them, but they're not mandatory in the sense of you meeting the eligibility criteria for the programs. Now, let me show you something. I want to teach you guys something else. Now that we can actually look in here and see this, and yes, this is a dummy account, okay? And yes, the previous one that I used with my client's permission, I never did have the password. It was saved in Chrome, but I never had the password. I never had the login. I knew his email because I know his email, but everything was done on his end, and with his authorization, he allowed me to connect through his saved password without me knowing. So he actually never did give me that password. Anyways, with that being said, this is just a dummy account just to see how it works. And you can see here, as you enter the information in, all of you can go in and you can look at it yourself. You don't need me to do anything. But what I want to point out here, and maybe I can enlarge this a little bit so that it's a little bit easier for everybody to see. I think that's better. You'll see on here that these ones are mandatory, and they have a little red asterisk beside it. Obviously, these forms are mandatory. But what does mandatory mean? Well, in the context of this application, mandatory means that unless you have something uploaded into here and you have a green check mark, you are not going to be able to advance to the next level, the next stage, okay? And as you're going through here, you can see if your screen is big, like you've blown it up like mine, if you look up at the top here, you'll see that you can't even, like, this is the tricky part. If you've got your screen too big, you won't know where to go. You'll be like, what do I do? What do I do? And it's only after you shrink it down one, so it fits on the page, that then you can see that you actually advance through the screens by clicking on here. And that was something that I got stuck with because the first one that I did, when I completed everything and uploaded it, I was waiting for a button to show up here that said next or advance, but it didn't show up. What happened was then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I have to click this. And then I clicked pay the fees. And then I was able to advance and then also review and submit, which obviously none of this is ready for this application, right? And yep, there's errors. There's missing information. Why? Because they've designated what is mandatory. So for the principal applicant, you guys, when you're going through here, lots of people are asking lots of questions. Here's the new pathway, right? And then we've got our Schedule A, supplemental. We've got the biographical data page. We have additional family. Why they don't just put the form together here, right here, I don't know. But anyways, it's stuck up here. So documents are between two of the forms, and that's fine. For my clients, I told them to do their letters of explanation as a standalone document and then upload it. And instead, because we just didn't know what was going to happen with the forms, we weren't sure if they were all going to be electronically uploaded or whether we needed to sign them. We've heard repeatedly from immigration, they've tweeted out that you do not need to have signed forms, and we relied on that. I had a technical briefing with just myself and 4 other representatives of the representative groups, Acadie, CAPIC, and myself and Ravi were there for the CBA. But in that meeting, they reiterated once again that we did not need to sign any of these forms. All they wanted us to know is that the generic application form had to be validated. So you need to make sure that you got that sucker validated. Okay, guys? All right, now, as we're going down here, I want to show you something. So these say mandatory, mandatory, and what do we have here? We've got medical that says mandatory and police certificate that says mandatory. Why is it mandatory? Because immigration really does want this stuff in there, because if it's there at the beginning, they don't have to chase you after and they can finalize the application soon. If they left it as optional, then people wouldn't include it. Even if they had it sometimes, that would be kind of strange, but they wouldn't work hard to get it done so that they could finalize as many of these applications as possible in 2021. That's the target. That's the goal. This 401,000K, which of them, we're not even sure. There's over 108,000 economic, 80,000 PNP. Well, they're both economic, but the express entry kind of stream and all of the programs under it are scheduled. You know, their targets are over 108,000, whereas the PNPs even themselves have targets of over 80,000. So basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of people that they have room to land this year, and they need you. They need people who are going through this program. So as we go down a little bit further, you'll see, like I said, medical examinations are mandatory, police certificates are mandatory. That does not mean that your application is going to be refused because you did not upload a medical nor upload a police certificate. But what they did advise us, and that comes straight from the guide itself. I wonder if I even have a copy of that guide. I don't even know if I opened that one up. Got a bunch of other stuff going on here, but no guide that I'm aware of. Joe, we can find the guide. We just go here. And the guide, if you're looking for it, you can access it right within the portal. Open it up, and then we go here. And you can see in the guide, they actually, well, not only do they have the documents that you have to gather, which of critical nature right here as you review it, is the actual forms themselves. But if I do a search here and I go for sign and I start advancing through here, you'll see here that as we get to the instructions, it says consent declaration for the instruction, complete, sign, and submit. See, it says sign here. And as we go down to other ones, you know, all of this, as we scroll through the instructions, the only one when it comes to the generic form, it says enter your name and your security question. It says this is your electronic signature. This right here is really what they mean for the whole thing. At least I don't know why they didn't put it on the other forms. But for this one here, you are not to include, you're not to sign. It says do not use the signature panel button. Do not print it. Save the form, upload the form. This is the generic one. As we keep going down here to the other ones, sign and date in the space provided, background declaration. We scroll down here, sign and date the boxes, right? Like it's so frustrating because all through here it says you need the signature of the declarant, right? But in reality, the messaging was conflicting. So depending upon what you guys ultimately did, you're going to be okay. Whether you chose to sign it or whether you chose not to. Myself and my client, I was in the meeting. I talked directly with them. They said, Mark, you don't need to do that. You don't need to sign. The electronic signature is sufficient. I accepted it. When I saw it in the guide, did I freak out? Yes, I did. And then I was really upset because they told me one thing and then the guide said something else. And then the tweets came out and then the confirmations came out that nope, it's not required to be signed. So we can rely on that. To not be able to rely would be detrimental reliance and there would be a class action lawsuit, right? So at the end of the day, you have to trust what immigration's telling you. So when we go back here to this, to the main TR to PR, there are certain things that you have to put something in there. And that's the medical and that's the police certificate especially. You have to put something in there and that something is evidence that you've applied. But if you are in Eastern Canada, right? If you are in Atlantic Canada, what are medicals? Like 2022? like when it comes to police certificates, well, you guys can collect those, and you can, every country is a little bit different. Some are in lockdown still. But as long as you provide some evidence that you've made the attempt, that's really all they're looking for. And when you look at the guide and you look for the specific instructions in the guide right here, if you look at that, and if we take, let's take police certificates. Let's search police certificates. Certificate. There we go. Okay, there's a couple references here. So if we search for the section on police certificates and clearances, you will see here that if we go down, let's see if we can find it here. All right, let's just see here. I know that they have. Let's see if we can find it here. If you can't, okay. So you can see here, the instructions are even right here. If you cannot get a police certificate before applying due to COVID restrictions, this is instructions, right? So they say, due to the ongoing situation, you may have difficulty acquiring it. In those cases, IRCC may accept both of the following: proof that having requested the police certificate and an explanation of best efforts. Now, it says not guarantee of acceptance, but the reality is, if you've done everything that you can, then that's as far as you can go. And the same information, the same instructions exist within the medicals. So if you're in Atlantic, Canada, and you truly can't even book an appointment to get a medical in 2022, then you're going to be safe. You don't need to worry about that. All right, let's see what else I have on my list here. So like I said, the other bottleneck was the language tests. And then we also, the police certificate delays. But the reality is, you guys, even though we have all of this, you still get only one chance to make the cap, one chance to make sure that you're submitting all of the essential documents that are needed to prove your eligibility, and one chance with this TR to PR program. Now, if you apply again under the same stream that you're eligible for, they're gonna delete the second one, and they're only gonna take the first one. If you apply through a different stream, that's different. Different stream, pay a different fee. Then technically, I guess, if you meet the requirements of both the healthcare and the essential worker, or you've gone through the international grad, but you're still you've met the requirements of an essential worker, then you could submit applications in two different streams. But overall, you only get one shot at this. And ultimately, if you rushed and you made mistakes, then it could affect your eligibility and your ability to get your application approved. Now, there's things I know, and the reason I'm doing this teaching is as much because I know there's lots of questions that are about this. One of the things that we know when you go into your own portal, I'll shift back here. When you go in here after you've submitted it, it has a little note up here that says, what to do if you need to update your file. Well, that update is actually directs you eventually, as you follow the little links, back to the generic IRCC web form. But what we don't know is how flexible or lenient they're going to be when it comes to applications that are deficient or that have errors. If it relates to the application forms that you haven't submitted them properly, well, that could result in rejection. If you're missing your language test, that we know is going to result in a rejection. If you don't have your education, that can result in an education, at least your proof of education, and of course your work experience. But there's a lot of uncertainty. And I can tell you guys that as I learn and as I discover what's happening, I've got a ton of people that I've been working with through the Express Entry, yeah, that course too, but the TR to PR pathway course, where we're all learning and watching together through this process. Now, the advantage that some people have that have made it a decision right now to register for the course, because it's still open, and because I'm not going live nonstop for 2 hours every evening, I've reduced the price to 50%. Now, notwithstanding that, I've updated the login for the portal. I've updated how you navigate through this right here. I've updated all those videos, the documents. And so the course, in a way, it's a complete course now, where it was building and evolving with the people who really needed that, because most of you had no clue what you were going to expect until it went live. But you can go now and you can access this at 50% off. And so right now, you can access it and it will automatically calculate. As you can see here, it's $173.50 US to access the whole course to help you along your way. So that's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. But back to the IRCC web form. Some of you who have made mistakes, this is where you would update it. But I'm going to counsel you not to update anything until you get your acknowledgement of receipt, because it will be very difficult for immigration to figure out which application is yours. If we look as of today, if we scroll down to the bottom, you can see here, let's see if we've got a date on it. I lost my little tracker. Let's see, do we have a date on? Okay, you can see this was last updated 2018. So the question that I have is, if that date updates, what we should see on here is the ability to choose the TR to PR pathway. So if we go here, we know as we look at all of these options here, this really is permanent residence applied online. But when you click on here and then you go to the application, it only has express entry. So I'm hoping that eventually they will have a TR to PR pathway option on here. And then that's how people will be able to upload. And those of you who are wondering, how do I do this? There's a spot here to enter your information in, okay? And one thing I'll show you guys when you're doing this, if you have a long explanation, do you see how it disappears off the screen? I always take and I copy this and I actually copy it into a different document so that I know exactly what I put in there. And then I always print this screen before I advance. Anyways, you put the information in here that says, please note, I forgot to include my, whatever it was, the letter of explanation with my forms. But you're going to put your last name, given name, email, date of birth, country of birth. These are all mandatory fields, and they should match obviously with what you put in your application. But then there's optional ones, but that I consider mandatory. They may not have a star here, but as far as I'm concerned, there's a star. You're going to enter your UCI in here, and you're going to enter your application number right in this spot right here. Telephone number, I don't care so much about that. And then your information. And then the most important thing at the end is to realize that when you click next, you will then have the ability to upload your document. Okay. I'm going to be updating this constantly, you guys. I'm going to be trying to let you know what's happening. Is Mark, am I reaching out to the government and am I sharing them the experiences that of all the people that I've been working with? Yes. Am I telling them about the rush that resulted in some people missing things? Yes. Am I advocating for leniency, for them to be kind, to use discretion? Yes, I am. Especially given the fact I can see here that, when you go back to our, the actual, the rate at which these applications are being submitted, let's look at this one, 6,733. Have we had any advances here? Okay, we've had what? 6 more people. So 6 more people submitted their applications. And I can tell you guys that this number is going to move a lot faster in the weekends and on the evenings than it will during the day because people are working. All right. And those, when they get their language tests and are then able to go in, but we still have a long ways to go. And I personally think that the healthcare right here, I wonder if this is even going to cap out. Maybe it will, but I think I'm giving this at least a month. That's what I'm going to say, at least a month. And this one here, it's going to go faster, I think. This one could be 2 weeks. It's possible that it could go faster, but I surely think that it's the language test. If people had everything, trust me, they would have been submitting and this number would have been ballooning up fast, but they simply don't. So it's going to be a race to see who can actually get to the, to the language centers and get their tests and upload. That's what's going to drive the amount of time people have. Now it could be, I'm going to revisit this like all the time, frequently. We're going to look at it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see what the trends are. But from what I can see, especially when it comes to language tests, we're months out. People are booking, it's even more than months. And with the current lockdown, things are even tighter. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think that's it. So what I'm going to do now, I know there's a lot of questions and I'm going to devote a lot of time to you guys. It's quite interesting. I was hoping that NASHT would join me. And if you've been watching me, NASHT was the guy that I had a little bit of a but with. So sometimes I get irritated by people like this guy, like Mario, the first comment. Nobody knows how fast or slow TR to PR is going to be. Thank you, tips. I appreciate that, Mario. Of course nobody knows for sure. It depends on how many people are going to apply, but we can definitely look at it and start to make judgments as to how fast we think it's going to fill up based on the rate in which it has been, like the spots have been taken up. So anybody could have seen that it was going to be filled up within very close to the first day, if not just after, for the international grads. So anyways, we'll leave that one where it's at, and and Mario can feel smart, and that's good. But anyways, NASHT went on, and I can't remember what he said other than, Mark, why are you peddling your course? Why are you going in and telling people to go purchase this? I can't remember the exact words, but I was constantly pushing this, push, because I wanted people to take the course. I wanted them to. And I've got some answers that we've already got up here already, just from people that have actually taken it. So I've got those up here. Like Simone says, honestly love this group, and I learned quite a lot interacting with everyone. This course was well worth it. Ismail says, thank you very much once more for all you did to pave a pathway for us, Mark, Igor, and everyone at the Canadian Immigration Institute. Special thanks to Igor. If it wasn't for his help, I would just give up on the course without even joining. Ismail had problems logging in. And then Arthur says, Mark, this course was worth every single penny. Started at 11, finished by 11:17. And that was very, very common for people who did their work, who attended the classes. And I explained exactly how to lay everything out, so all they'd have to do is to link it. And then Annalisa says, thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for giving us more than what we paid you. This is about our future and to be with our family. Amir, thank you so much, Mark. Trusting you was more than worth it. Fully satisfied. Shoaib, heartfelt thank you to you and all your team for helping us out. Really worth it. And then Pablo says, I really appreciate all your support and hard work, Mark. The work that Igor and you did was not only to teach us filling forms, you guys guided us through the last mile to reach our dream. God bless you. And you know what? Of the people that were in the course, I'm going to just keep adding them on, and you guys can just make up your minds whether or not this is worth it. But those of you who are actually at the stage where you're going through the essential worker, like, I don't know, you guys can make whatever decisions you want. But I know the people that were in the course were so grateful, and I was so grateful for them. And it's just this perfect little family. And so anyways, you can log in, you can get access at 50% off. And the only difference is I'm not going live, but that doesn't really make a difference. Now I know what the course entails. Well, I know what the actual, because I can now see this right here, because I can now see everything in here, and we have the guide. Now I have a very, very clear idea of what and how to complete. Now, if you look at the guide is not very clear in terms of how to fill out the information, difficult issues, things like that. And we covered all of that in the course. So those of you who are still thinking, hey, this might work for me, it's lifetime access. So go ahead, log in and register for the course and go over and check it out. Anyways, back to NASHT. So NASHT and I had a little bit of a go around, and if you guys were watching, I don't know if you remembered, and I don't think NASHT is on. He said he would be happy to come join me, but I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe that NASHT is available tonight. At least I don't think he is. I'm just going to check my emails here to see. I don't think he was able to respond. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, the last that I heard from him was, I'll be glad to join you on a live stream. I would love to share my experience with you and your audience. But because he's not on here, I just want to show you, I'm going to show you guys what he wrote me, okay? And I think he wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm just going to pull it up right here onto my screen because that's what I can do. So I'm going to pull this right on here. So NASHT and I, we had a little bit of a discussion, and he basically accused me that he said I wasn't professional pushing my course. And so this is what NASHT, I said, fine, NASHT, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you, actually, I'll pause this a little bit. I said, fine, then I'll give you free access to the course. You go and you take a look at it and you let me know if it's worthwhile or not. And so that's what he did. And so he went in, and this is the email that I got from him earlier today. He said, I was successfully able to submit the file on time, just missed the LOE, which was not that important, honestly, as I had all the documents, but everything went smooth. I cannot thank you enough for your guidance. You've been like a consultant to us. We followed your advice blindly. I'm really sorry if anything I said disturbed, bothered you. I did log in and was able to make good use of it, and the course is definitely worth it. And I never thought I'd say, but I definitely will recommend that rather than spending $2,000 on a consultant. All the best to you guys for everything that you got going on. And YouTube is what's hot right now. Please continue that. Igor too, I'm sure you're the back-end master that makes things for Mark accessible. I really wish we can interact someday. And so I will get NASHT to join me, but there's, those of you who are wondering why I promote it, it's because I know it will help you. But you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to say, buy the freaking course because it's going to help you, because, hey, you're going to line Mark's pockets with money. Oh yes, the people that purchased it made just an amazing, they blessed my family more than I could ever tell you. But in like manner, the whole reason that I created it was to help people avoid the common pitfalls. And even that guide is so sparse. So I pour in everything with respect to the documents. It's all there. Okay, enough talking about that. I've plugged it. I've done my job. I've plugged the course. Get over right here, click on the link below and get access to it. If you're an immigration consultant, if you're an immigration lawyer, go over here. I don't care. Everybody is open to be a part of this. And when you click on the link and you go here, you get 50% off right now. It's only $173.50 US. All right. I'm done. I'm done with that. Okay, let's get back here and let's start chatting and see what people have to say. Okay, Canshin says 6th of May. And do you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer Canshin's, and then I'm going to flip down here, and then I will start basically with Sajith. So you can start posting questions now. Don't duplicate it. Don't duplicate. Okay, so Canshin says 6th of May 2021, I submitted our PR application. I mistakenly uploaded my IM-5406 on my spouse's document checklist, and I uploaded her IMM 5406 on my document checklist. That happens, Canshin. Now I'll tell you. Okay, let's go back and let's take a look at what his issue is. So let's go back here. So if you guys look here, you'll see that it's very easy to do that when you're uploading stuff, right? So the 5406 is this one right here. And basically this one, document checklist, you can see when you go to the top, this is for the primary applicant. So I can roll that up if I want to. And then the spouse right here has her own additional family. And it's very easy if you're not paying attention and you're in a rush to click on the wrong one and upload the wrong one into the wrong spot. And that's what happened here. And so let me see if I'm back on the right page here. No, I got this one here. There, that's the one. So that's what happened to Canshin. Okay, now I'll tell you, Canshin, that you're probably going to be okay. As long as it's uploaded into one of those boxes are not a static kind of form. Now you're probably going to be okay. But with that being said, when that IRCC web form opens up and you've got your acknowledgement of receipt, guess what you're going to do? You're going to notify them immediately. Please note, I made a mistake. The two forms, this is for the principal applicant, this is for the spouse, and upload those together, inside the additional document section for the web forms. That's what you're going to do. Now, it's kind of ridiculous to even think that you would need to do this, but you're just not going to take any chances. And that's what all of you are going to do. All right. So now we're going to jump down here and let's see what we've got. Okay. So we'll start here with Sajith. Okay. I've submitted 2 applications in the international grad stream. That's a bad decision, my friend, with different fee receipts. Doesn't matter. Because I haven't submitted Schedule 3 on my first application, instead I submitted Schedule A. Sajith, there's a very, very high likelihood that your second one is going to be canceled, and your first one, the schedule without the Schedule 3, that it may be refused, and that's a possibility. Same thing, the same advice goes to every single person who've made any mistake. As soon as the web form allows for you to, as soon as you get the confirmation back with your AOR, that's what you're going to do. Okay. You're going to upload it to the IRCC web form and make whatever corrections you can as fast as you can. But Sajith, this is one of the challenges. In the course, I show my students how to set things up so that nothing gets missed when they're uploading. And I'm really, really sorry that happened to you. But one thing IRCC has told us, that people who submit multiple applications, the later ones are going to be canceled and they'll only accept the first one. Okay. All right. Okay. I wonder if Ravi wants his question answered. Anybody think? He's got 4. Attached official graduation degree certificate with transcripts instead of completion letter. Well, you guys have read the guide, right? And if you don't have exactly what they're looking for, well, there's a possibility they could decide they're going to refuse it. But I'll be honest, when it says provide proof of completion and you've provided the information, like remember, R10 doesn't apply here in terms of the completeness check. They still have room, but understand when all of this is said and done, individuals that are applying through this program, immigration wants you. They're not like Express Entry where they're looking for ways to refuse because they have a gazillion people that are begging to come and way, way more people than they have spots to fill. With this, they truly want every single one of you. So my advocacy as the National Chair of the Canadian Bar Association, my advocacy as a lawyer, as a representative for my client, my one client, and for every single person that's taken the course and all of you is to advocate for leniency as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, why did they create this, this program under the Section 25, Humanitarian and Compassionate? It's designed to allow people to apply for permanent residence because of humanitarian and compassionate factors. It's not designed for them to crucify you. So my vote and what I'm trying to tell immigration, and I think many are advocating this, is that because of the speed, especially for your international grads, my goodness, you guys had this horrible pressure under you. You're doing the best that you can, and these things happen. All right. And you can see how many people here, all these questions, there's so many. I uploaded a photocopy of the study permit. Is there any problem? No, that's what you do. That's what you do. Okay. How long does the police certificate last for? I have one. I did 1 year. Can I still use that? Pam, were you still in the country when you obtained it? If you were, it's only valid 6 months from the date it was issued. If you've been in Canada and you obtained it while you were in Canada, so you weren't there, it was after you left, then it doesn't expire. Okay, Gurpreet says, does the 30-hour week apply to essential experience? As Portal says, total 1560 hours. Doesn't say no more than 30 hours a week. 1 year working full-time, 30 hours a week over 12 months equals 1,560 hours. Okay, so can you accumulate it in part-time? Yes, you can, and the guide talks about that. So if you worked for 2 full years, working at 15 hours a week, and you accumulate that 1 year in 2 years part-time, then you can count it. Okay, Parm says here, thank you for sharing every single information with us. You're welcome. My question is, if we leave the forms blank without putting NA in there, it will be a problem or no? That's a good question. So anything that didn't apply to my clients, I always put an NA in there. And if you have a section where you needed to put something in and you didn't, well, once again, it's up to that officer. I'm advocating for lenience. And in most cases, well, there's some important parts like did you have military service in your background, in the background declaration? Sorry, when you're completing your Schedule A, it asks if you have had any military service, and so you definitely need to put that in there. So it just depends on what you're referring to. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and this is B2K says, hey, what happens if it does get rejected? Does it have a rejection? Does it weigh negatively on subsequent applications? No, not in any way. If there's something in there that was a misrepresentation, you submitted something that was fraudulent, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But not if you just made a mistake. Your application, if it gets refused, it won't impact you in any way whatsoever. All right, you guys with the Qs. 1 Q is good. Okay, Rakesh says, if an international graduate working in company and that company or restaurant is closed due to COVID and that particular international graduate have any trouble for TR to PR because of losing the job, after you've submitted your application, it's not going to be an issue as long as you're in valid status in Canada at the time in which your application is approved. But when you submit your application, you sure better have been employed, because if you were laid off before then and you make the claim that you were working, that could be seen as a misrepresentation. So if you were laid off before you submitted your application and you weren't currently employed, saying or giving the impression that you were can be considered a misrepresentation, Rakesh. And I sure hope people didn't push that envelope. Okay, Doran says, hey, all right, let's see. Click on Doran. There we go. I received an ITA in April. Great. I'm about to submit my permanent residence application. However, I have a concern related to my work permit. LMIA has expired a week ago. Okay, so Doran, I'm going to direct you, my friend, to the Express Entry step-by-step course. So that is what I recommend that you log in and you take. And in there is, I'll show you something right here, recording. I'll flip my screen around. So when you go to the course here, and I'm going to back up here, and I'm going to go right up to the Canadian Immigration Institute. So when you go to our landing page here and you go see our courses, this is the TR to PR pathway. This is where it all got started, the Express Entry course. I just finished one last week. I'm going to be launching another one here shortly. And I encourage you to go and register for the Express Entry Masterclass. And you can reserve your spot right now by putting your information in, and then I'll notify you when I launch. So that's one thing that everybody needs to understand exists, and it's there to help and guide you. Okay, so back to the question. When it comes to LMIAs and expiring, if you're currently working for that same employer and that LMIA was used, if you're in Canada, okay? So if you're in Canada, I'm assuming if you just got an ITA that you are, because the only way you're going to get that is through the Canadian Experience class. But if you have an LMIA that is expired, but it was used to obtain your original work permit, and that work permit is employer specific, and that employer has given you a job offer letter, and you otherwise meet all of the requirements, then the expiry of that LMIA, which is only valid for 6 months, isn't an issue. It's not an issue as long as you're working on that work permit that was issued because of that LMIA. If you have any questions at all you have to do as well is just go over and book a consult. So click over here, go to our website. The link is below as well. And we're here to help answer. And all you have to do is click on the link. You can choose whoever you want, myself, Alicia, Susan, and we can make time. We're all immigration lawyers. And this is what we do all day, every day. All right, let's jump back here. Okay, so let's keep going here. What if we sign the form, says Jen? It's all good. Congratulations to you. Parabéns, as we say in Portuguese. It's all good. If you signed all the forms except the IMM 008, then you've actually followed the guide properly. So no worries, my friend. You are just fine. Okay, discover with Iris Colombo. I love that handle. I hope you guys are making money on YouTube. You know what? With all the people that are watching my live streams now, I just about made $1,000 in ads, Google ads on my videos. Like, it's quite hilarious, actually. Well, it's overwhelming is what it is. Who makes money on YouTube videos? Anyways, yeah, so the last 30 days or whatever it is, I think I'm just about at $1,000 in YouTube ads. So thank you for watching my videos. And that helps to cover all of the costs associated with all of the infrastructure, the websites, the hosting, the course where all the courses are housed, all of the graphics and images that we pay for. All of those things come from the proceeds from YouTube. So thank you so much, you guys. Okay, I was 18 when I came to Canada. Do I need a police certificate? Okay, were you 18 in your home country before you left to arrive in Canada? If you were, then the question is, were you there for at least 6 months in the previous 10-year period after you turned the age of 18? If you were there for over 6 months, then yes, you do. If you turned 18 and then you came to Canada a week later, then no, you do not need to obtain a police certificate from your home country. And everybody knows by now you don't need one for Canada. All right. Haha. Ash says, we didn't have to sign any forms. It's all good. I love you guys talking once amongst yourselves. That's what I want to create as a community. And that's why, I'll be honest, that's why I do this in Facebook. Because in the Facebook page, when we're, when we're connecting, people can connect with one another. They can share information. They can share links. It's all contained in discrete discussions. And it's so powerful. That group, my goodness, is so awesome. You know, just the community, and we're not done. Like the people that are in there, if you join in, you get all the benefit of everybody else who's been before you too. That's the cool part. All these people who've, you know, I don't know, what do we got? Like, I think 350 people that actually subscribed or joined the Facebook group. I have to assume the other, whatever, how many, they probably were just immigration consultants or lawyers or something that just wanted access to the course material. And that's totally fine. But, if you join the course now, you get access to all those people and to follow all the discussions. And as we're talking about, did you get your AOR? You know, have you figured out a way to fix this problem? All of those discussions are happening in there, which is really cool. And it just doesn't work very well here on YouTube. But YouTube is smoking awesome when it comes to live streaming, right? Okay. Okay. Gurpreet says, does the max 30 hours per week apply to essential experience? As Portal says, total 1560, doesn't say no more than 30. Maybe I already answered that. I don't know. The reality is, yeah, if you're trying to meet the 1560 hours in 1 year to show the 1 year, remember, you can't ignore that. You can't work 40 in less than a year and count it as 1560. You have to stay on track with the 1560 in 1 year. At least that is how I've always interpreted it. And that's how it's been interpreted for CEC. And the same principles apply. Once again, the guide is garbage. It's not garbage. It's just very, very limited in its instructions. It gives you kind of what to include, but it doesn't provide details in how to actually establish things. That's where the course comes in. Okay, let's see here. And I'm looking for cues. So when I see the cue, this is the key. So Ali says, is it true that IRCC is not issuing COPRs to applicants who have outland dependents? This is very concerning. Ali, they will eventually issue COPRs, but they are not going to land a family. They're not going to land the principal applicant in the family unless they have done all the background and security checks for the dependents. Because of what's happening overseas, because overseas visa offices are often closed or they're operating with a skeleton crew, they can't do that background check. They have to wait. And until the borders open and everything eases up, then individuals that apply now are going to see their applications delayed. They are, but you're in. And that's the thing that I want you guys to focus on. Yes, there might be delays with your spouses and your children. And I know my heart goes out to you guys when you are separated. I've told you guys this lots. You know, I don't know what I would do if I was away from my wife that I love with all my heart and my kids for a week, let alone years. The sacrifices that you guys have made has just been like, unless you've done it yourself, you just don't appreciate. I get to feel secondhand, you know, vicariously through my clients when they're, you know, when their hearts are breaking because of this, when they're separated because of the pandemic, especially the spousal sponsorships right now. My heart goes out to them. You know, they desperately want to be reunited with their spouses abroad. And so when you're here and your dependents are overseas, you're in that same situation. And I'm really sorry. I just hope that this pandemic is just ends and life can go back and people can land and families can be reunited. That's where my prayers are right now. Okay. MCall, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not sure if you were a subscriber to the course. I don't recognize your name. You kind of become family in there. It's like I'm teaching again, right? Teaching high school. And I've done sessional kind of guest lectures at universities and colleges as well. And you get to know people. All right, there's George. There's someone I know. With the exact same employment letter used for an express entry application with the date in the header updated. Work for this TR to PR. Thank you. Yes, it would, George. It absolutely would. Yes. And that's what we've been teaching since the day that I heard TR to PR pathway was going to exist, and that 1 year of experience in one of the essential worker NOCs, that was required. Instantly, I started teaching people. Do it just like express entry. Why? Because the person heading up express entry is the same person that was behind the creation of the TR PR program. Okay. Arjun, you submitted a scanned copy of the IMM 008. What can I do now to rectify it? See, this is the problem, right? Because how do you know? Like, how is Arjun to know? Like when you go in here and this is where it's so hard because you're rushing, right? And so if I go here and I go, let's go generic. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. So you can see here, this is some pretty useless, useless instructions on how to complete. There's lots of gaps and things in here. But when you go down to the bottom, like we talked about before, once we get down there, so we've got the different sections: education, language, dependence, blah, 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 till we get to the end, and then education of the dependents. Okay, so you can see here, it gives you instructions on how important it is to get this sucker validated. Now, it may be that this is not going to be an issue for you, but if you look here and you're looking at this, if you go down a little bit farther, it says it needs a barcode. So hopefully when you printed it off, the barcode was attached to it. It says, as you are applying online, do not print the 2D barcode form. Do not use the signature panel button at the top of the page. Save the form directly in a place that you can remember it. Then upload the form directly in the spot in the intake portal. After you upload all your necessary forms and documents, click next, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the thing that I'm relying on and everybody else is relying on, right? Enter your name and answer a security question. This is your electronic signature. If we click on this and we open it in a new tab, this is what all of us are relying upon. But understand, this signature, this existed long before this program was created. This is April 24th, 2021. But this right here, and I shouldn't say long before, it opened May 6th. But the reality is, if you look at this, it's asking, I agree that by submitting this application, I'm electronically signing right here. And then I give a name, last name, solemnly declare it's true, blah, blah, blah. And then you click submit. And so when I go back and I think about, how it's impacted, do you remember how you applied, if you did, for your postgrad work permit, or you applied for your study permit extension, whatever it might be? Maybe you're using the 5710 form. Those were validated forms. And you remember, if you tried to print those and then upload them, it didn't let you. In other words, it was a secure kind of, it's a secure receptacle. So in other words, it needed to be able to read everything. And the moment you print, it strips that away. Now, with your print that you did and upload, if it has the barcode, I think you still have a shot, because these in the portal right here, let's flip this back here. In this portal right here, when you go down, this field right here, actually, let me go back up to the top to the principal applicant. Okay. So when you go to the generic right here, this one is not a secured form that blocks you if the actual PDF is like not in a secure format, and it gets erased when you print it and you scan it. The security features are gone. But it doesn't block you like if you were to try to do that on a work permit extension. So what does that mean? Well, in my mind, I think you might have a shot. Okay. That's a long answer, Arjun, but the reason I'm taking the time here, you guys, is because these are the first time these questions are being asked. And so I'm answering things that are new and trying to help you to understand why things are the way they are, and to help manage people's expectations as well. But there's a lot that we don't know. But I can tell you guys, if you continue to watch these videos, as things unfold, as we learn, as we see them progress, I will be on here constantly doing live streams, answering questions, getting you up to speed with the latest information. It's kind of interesting now. All the other folks are trying to catch up, right? And I think generally speaking, there's going to be more resources out there for you guys, not just mine. I hope you still stay here. I hope you still feel like you can trust me, but there will be other resources of information out there that is pretty accurate as well now. Just in the early days, I kind of had a little bit of a corner on it, just because of the unique position I had serving as a volunteer of, hundreds and hundreds of hours as the national chair of the CBA. It put me in a position where I was able to represent all the other immigration lawyers within the CBA and liaise directly with immigration, and I still do. So that's one of the reasons why I'm able to share this information. And unlike some representatives that just kind of hoard it to themselves and then expect you to, hire them and pay, like Nishant said, the $2,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever they charge. What I do is I found a way to teach you guys. And it's like you're registering for your education. How much did you pay for your education in Canada? Well, I would argue that my TR to PR pathway course is just as important as the education that you're taking, because it's teaching you how to make sure that you're not going to make those mistakes. Yes, the guide is there. Yes, the forms are there. Yes, you can log in. It's all there. But please understand that you're going to get one shot at this. And if they're kind and they are forgiving, then maybe you can correct some things. But at this stage, I'm not holding my breath until I know for sure, because in the early days of Express Entry, they also said that they were going to be reasonable. And when I got my first application returned because I didn't include a police certificate from Queensland, Australia, for an accompanying dependent spouse in my original application, even though we had the national one, I knew that I just could not trust anything. So with my client that I represented, everything was perfect. And those who have done it perfectly, you're going to be just fine. Those who have deficiencies, well, if you've fallen short, then it just depends on whether or not immigration sees that deficiency as being something that goes to the heart of the application, that's a part of the eligibility stuff, versus the back end where it's not as important or critical, but it's more on the side of the security and background kind of screening. So there you go. Lots of questions. And no, I'm not going to get to all of you guys. Wow, Roshan. I paid the fee but didn't get a receipt. I uploaded my bank statement showing the payment to the IRCC. Is that fine? You're going to fight this, my friend. The portal was a complete, the payment portal was a gong show. So you've got that payment, you've made it. Oh, you're going to fight, my friend. You're going to fight tooth and nail. If they come back and say that, well, you didn't get a receipt, you didn't upload the proper receipt, we can't file your application, or we can't recognize it as being complete, oh, you're going to fight that, because their job is to make sure that was working. And it's not your fault if you paid the fee and they didn't issue you a receipt. I think what you did there, Roshan, was very, very smart. Good for you. At the end of the day, if you need to book a consult and connect with us, if they're doing something cruel to you, oh, I'll fight with you, my friend. Okay, let's see what's up. I think we covered that one. Timelines. Now, how long would it take to process? Guessing much faster than Express Entry. Kazi, I don't think so. I'll be honest. The first people, so let me put this into context. My students who went through and were submitting them in like 5, and it's hilarious. It was hilarious to watch them. Igor was kind of telling me in the background as I was helping Lewis get his stuff finished. And he's like, yep, there's the first one. There's the next one. And this was happening 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, because they had it all prepped up. All they had to do was just copy it, and however fast they could upload, everything was lock solid. And so, so those people who were the first ones in into the international grad, yeah, there's no processing, like there's no delay. It's going to go right on an officer's desk. And if they have their police certificates, they have their medical, and many of them did already, and they had their proof of work experience and their education, that kind of stuff all there, it would not surprise me at all if we were seeing approvals in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because it doesn't take long to approve these applications, and there's nothing in front of them. They're the first ones. As it starts to build up in the back, then the processing times are going to start to stretch out. Okay. But in terms of the overall, once the officers are saturated and they're working through files, Express Entry, I'll be honest, because there's a completeness check involved, and they can return applications that are not complete. Whereas with this one, they actually have to process them to conclusion and refuse them if they're deficient. I think that process is going to extend out a little bit longer. I think it's going to take them longer to sort through this. You can see right here, there's so many people that have made little mistakes. What is the impact of these? How is it going to impact on everyone that has made mistakes? Are they going to be able to correct it through the IRCC web form? Those are questions that I will answer in the coming days as I get more clarification. Okay. All right. Patel says, can I submit my file in essential category? I did a work as a food counter attendant. Patel, did you look at your NOC code? Did you see your NOC code on that list? Unfortunately, food counter attendants are not on the list. And so for essential workers, you won't be able to apply. And why? Because, well, I don't know. I guess they just made a decision that those types of positions, there were just so many people that they would have dominated everything. And I guess they felt that they didn't want to proceed with that. Now, I'll tell you, Patel, if you're if your education relates to your work as a food counter attendant and you're in Alberta, the Alberta opportunity stream works for you. But when it comes to the TR to PR pathway, no, my friend. Yeah, there's lots of people crashed without, right away, basically without generating a receipt. I submitted my file with LOE and credit card payment screenshots. Yeah, you guys, that's exactly what you needed to do. I'm going to give you one of these. Actually, I've turned up my sound effect here. Okay, right here. I'm going to give you another one right here. Yes, very smart, guys. That's exactly what you needed to do. Love Preet. He says, I was on that live. Nishant got lucky. Yeah, apparently he did. Apparently he did. But Nishant is going to come and join me and explain his experience, because there's lots of haters out there, right? There's lots of people who just are bitter and just, I don't know, some people maybe, I don't know why people are the way they are. There's so much distrust with anyone being paid to help someone with immigration. And I think it stems from the government. I really do. IRCC says you don't need to hire a representative. You can do it yourself. And then they promptly refuse applications when people don't get things perfect, even when they had no clue what they had to do. Okay, so that's the setup that the government does for people. But then there's so many people online. My personal favorite is the people who immigrate themselves, start their own YouTube channel, and then start telling everybody that they know what they're doing because they immigrated themselves, didn't hire someone, it was easy. So I'm dealing with a lot of people like that. But hopefully, what I'm sharing and teaching here is worth it to all of you. I guess there's 538 of you watching live. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Yes, this is very common, Toshi, and I'm gonna read the question, then I'll show everybody what Toshi's talking about. And I love these questions because they help me to then teach all of you that have not yet filed, who are waiting to go through the essential worker programs, or the French speakers. You're really going to get advantage of this. So I did not notice the option to upload LOEs. Instead, I attached an LOE with the respective IMM form and our documents. Is that okay? Yeah, it's totally fine. You can totally do that. When you are, some people printed them off and the application forms themselves, they were able to save the forms in a flat, in a kind of a flat PDF format without secured features on it, other than the generic form. And they were able to bundle their letters of explanation with the individual forms. That's totally fine. In fact, the guide kind of alludes to it, but I'll be honest, the guide is just kind of a little bit of a ripoff from the PNP and the other programs. They just duplicated it. They cloned it and then made little changes. As far as I'm concerned, the one biggest failure was leaving in there that you had to sign the forms. They didn't need to do that. I don't know why, the confusion that they caused, but you're good there. You're good there, Toshi. Now, for the rest of you, you can see here, I didn't notice the option to upload LOEs, and we'll go back here and I'll show you guys again. So if we go back here, let me go to the right one right there. On here, like I said, at the bottom, so this is for the primary applicant. Okay, I love how they call them primary applicants. When you scroll down to the bottom here, it's just buried. It's not even, it doesn't even stand out. It's not even the last one. It's stuck here. Documents related to the EAPR not captured in other fields. So that's the spot. That's essentially the client information section. Why do they not call it client information? You guys would have recognized it. What was the purpose of this? I don't know why they put it like that. It's almost deceptively hidden there. And so there's another thing, immigration, that that I wish you wouldn't have done that like that. It's almost like they're trying to trip you guys up. I'm serious. And we see this a lot. And then when you don't get it right, then they end up crucifying you and getting your application returned. I sure hope that this isn't going to be treated like express entry and that they are going to be kind. Lots of people saying paid the fee, didn't get a receipt. Okay, and I'm going to answer this one last time. Okay, I'm going to answer this one last time. When will the results of the 10 colleges of Quebec come? What's the mistake of students? Why are they suffering? Students so stressed and their money and time is at stake. I am not a Quebec immigration lawyer. I have no control over any of that in Quebec. My heart goes out to you guys, but I've received a lot of emails and I simply have no experience dealing with that issue at all. My advice to you is to hire a Quebec immigration lawyer and seek help from them. Obviously, the education agents who took your money and talked you into going to school in Quebec thought it was a good idea. You paid them. The school paid them. I don't know who paid who. Well, however you ended up in Quebec studying, understand that I cannot help you. There's nothing that I can do with that situation at all. You know, like I said, my heart goes out to you, but go hire a Quebec-based immigration lawyer. Okay. No, October, you will get an AOR. Everybody will get an acknowledgement of receipt. The difference between Express Entry and the other programs is that you will get an acknowledgement of receipt, and if it's deficient, then the application will be processed. You will lose your processing fee, and then if there's something they found missing, they will refuse your application. That is the difference between Express Entry, where they return it as being incomplete and return your fees. R10, Regulation 10, does not apply to this. This, they will process your application and then they will refuse it and they will take your fee, but they won't just reject it at the moment in which they open it up. They will give you an AOR and it will proceed forward. Okay, hey Mark, thank you for all you do. Are single people supposed to provide identity and civil status documents? If yes, what kind of documents? If you're single, there was no birth certificate requested and you have no marriage certificate or common law. So in the truest sense, there were no civil status documents for you as a single. So that's how it works. Okay, then we've got Gambling here who says, do you think they're going to process tier to PR before they process a huge backlog of EE inlands? They're going to process them concurrently. So they will go along just in the same way they are. Although I will point out there's a big difference, you guys, between P&P and FSW. CEC, if these go through, like if you're an FSW and you're inland as an FSW, then they don't have a real good mechanism for identifying that you're in. So if you're an FSW and you're in Canada, it's going to be a long haul for you too, even though you're here. For PNP, if it's an express entry PNP and CEC, those are going to continue to process. And I think they're down to about 6 months now. So that's my feeling there. Okay, we'll answer a couple more questions and then I'll wrap it up for tonight. Yes, this one is probably going to be one of these where I'm going to tell you to book a consult. If someone worked 11 months, but hours are more than 1560 and 12 months couldn't work due to COVID layoff, so could that people be eligible to apply under non-essential worker? Rob, at this stage, every single thing that I've learned, everything that immigration has told me, the answer is no. You can't accumulate it faster than 1560, like in less than a year. It has to be the 12 months. So in your situation, you would not be eligible. When you get retained, when you get rehired, remember, you can accumulate that at any point within the previous 3 years. So if you're laid off and then you go back, you can then tack that on. So yeah, so that one, unfortunately, that's a no. Okay, so Nihat says, hey, when can I get my ITA? You're not getting an ITA. Don't conflate, I guess is the word I'm looking for, express entry with this program. There's no ITAs. You're probably talking about your acknowledgement of receipt, your AOR, and that's just confirming that they've received it. Because guys, there is no competition. This is a race. If you meet the eligibility, then you're in, and as long as it's correct, it will be processed. So that's good. I appreciate that. In the top 50 to 100, Nihat, that's awesome. Like we don't know 100%. We'll have to wait until once you get the acknowledgement of receipt, then you know an officer's got it and they're processing. That's why for you guys who get the AORs, where you see you may have some challenges or difficulties, immediately get over to the web form and update. And like we talked about before, flip back over here. That is this one right here. You're going to get right in here as fast as you can and fill this out and upload it as fast as you can. Hopefully by that time, there's going to be permanent residence applied online, and then there's going to be a TR to PR pathway, because right now there isn't. Okay, a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap it up so I can go and, oh, I had a nice sleep last night, you guys. Oh boy. I went to bed at like 10 p.m., which was a record for me in like 3 weeks. And I slept in till, well, it was about 9 o'clock. Well, technically I got up a little bit and I did a little bit of reading. I read my Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. You guys should check that book out. That's totally worth it. It's all about saving and being wise and not getting into debt. So I was reading that a little bit early, but I got a really good night's sleep, and I so needed it. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We'll get a couple more, 2 more, and then I'll wrap it up. Okay, guys. Let's see here. Trying to get ones that are new. Okay, they removed Cook from the essential list since I can't find it from the list when I was applying this morning. Cook is in the education side. So Cook is in the international grad program. It's under the trade level. So I don't remember Cook being in the essential worker. Maybe I just overlooked it or missed it, but Cook and Chef they're contained in the international grad under the trade position. So that option B. Yeah, I know what you're asking here, Rangika. Are they going to reopen it because of all the applications that are refused? At this stage, there's been no indication that they're going to do that. None. All right, I am going to turn this on. Okay, we're going to end it off tonight, but I will be back again, and I'll try to do a little bit more of a regular, update on this TR to PR pathway. I'm going to let you know what I learn when I learn it. I'm going to continue jumping into the course that is got many, many, many of those people in that course are just sitting back, smiling. They know their application's in. It's awesome. And yeah, I just encourage you guys to go check it out. It's half the price, and you have access to all of the resources and tools that help all of those people make sure they got it right the first time. All right. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off, wishing you guys all the best on your TR to PR pathway journey. See you later.